Attraction isn't earned through effort, it's claimed through presence. The man who understands this stops running and starts radiating. He knows that trying to impress is the fastest way to be ignored. When you chase, you signal that she's the prize and you're the contestant. And when you signal that, you lose. Because women don't chase men who position themselves beneath them. They chase mystery. They chase power. They chase the man who doesn't explain himself, doesn't overcommit too soon, and doesn't place his peace in anyone else's hands. If you've ever felt like you were doing all the right things, texting first, being emotionally available, listening, being generous, complimenting her, being there, and still she pulls away, becomes colder, and eventually disappears, then this message is for you. You were never supposed to perform. You were supposed to lead, to embody direction, to create tension through restraint. Because attraction isn't built through availability, it's built through value. Women don't want a man who's always waiting. They want a man who's already moving. When you have purpose, goals, peace of mind, emotional strength, and a clear identity, you become magnetic without saying a word. The more you chase, the more she retreats. But the more you hold your ground, the more she watches. And not because you're trying to make her chase, but because you've stopped making her the center of your emotional life. That's what Machiavellian attraction is. It's not manipulation, it's alignment. It's being the kind of man who is so deeply rooted in who he is that he cannot be swayed by silence, ghosting, mixed signals, or validation withdrawal. He doesn't panic when she's distant. He doesn't beg when she's cold. He doesn't double text when she stops replying. He simply observes and adjusts because he knows that emotional control is the highest form of power. In the world of attraction, silence is seductive, distance is magnetic, and presence is felt when it's rare and intentional. You don't need to be louder, you need to be more still. You don't need to give more, you need to protect what you give. When a woman senses that your validation is not handed out freely, she values it more. When she realizes that your time is earned, she shows up with intention. But when you give all of yourself to someone who hasn't proven they're worth it, you don't look generous, you look desperate, you look easy to win. And anything easy to win is easy to forget. You need to stop over-explaining yourself. Stop defending your feelings. Stop trying to make her see how different you are. Let your silence do the work. Let your absence speak when she pulls back. Let your rhythm be unshaken, because when you stop chasing and start choosing, everything shifts. The moment you realize you are the asset, the energy changes. You no longer look at every text like a test. You no longer try to be who she wants. You become who you are, and that man doesn't bend to win someone over. He stands tall. He values his own presence first. He lives a life that's already fulfilling, with or without her. And that's what pulls her in. The guy who walks into a room and doesn't seek attention, but commands it through posture, purpose, and presence. Women notice that. They feel that because most men are trying too hard. They're over-communicating, overthinking, over-giving, and it's exhausting. But the rare man, the man who doesn't need her but could want her, the man who holds his standards quietly, who protects his time fiercely, who doesn't sell his peace for temporary affection, that man becomes unforgettable. He's not emotionally reactive. He's emotionally selective. He doesn't panic when things feel uncertain. He leans into the uncertainty and lets it filter the ones who aren't meant to stay. He's not here to beg for connection. He's here to build gravity. And that gravity doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from alignment. He knows his mission. He honors his time. He keeps his circle sharp. And he doesn't let the wrong woman distract him from becoming the right man. He doesn't fake mystery. He lives a life that is genuinely layered. His routine is sacred. His goals are real. His habits are intentional. He doesn't post to impress. He posts to express. His online presence reflects his offline purpose, and that purpose creates curiosity. The guy who's always online, always commenting, always sharing his emotions with strangers, always proving how good of a guy he is. He doesn't get chased, he gets pitied. But the guy who is silent, focused, consistent, the guy whose moves are intentional, not reactive, he builds interest without trying, because women aren't attracted to attention seekers. They're attracted to emotional leaders, men who are grounded, men who are hard to read because they don't need to be understood by everyone, men who walk with calm, who don't announce their plans but execute them, who don't ask for permission to live their truth. That's what Machiavellian attraction looks like. It's strategic, not manipulative. It's high standard, not high drama. You say less, but you mean more. You give less, but it means more. You're not here to prove. You're here to invite. And if she doesn't recognize the value, you don't argue. You withdraw, not to punish, but to protect your energy. That is strength. That is control. That is how attraction becomes natural. It's not a trick. It's a decision. You decide to move like the prize. You decide to stop chasing. You decide to stop explaining. You decide to stop reacting. And you decide to start leading. In your emotions, in your focus, in your mission. When you do that, everything changes. The same women who ignored you start paying attention. The same ones who pulled away start leaning in, not because you played a game, but because you became a different man. The man who isn't waiting for love to feel alive. The man who doesn't give his peace to strangers. The man who values himself so deeply that others have to step up just to get near. That is the man they chase. Not the nice guy who does everything she wants. Not the reactive guy who texts every hour. Not the people pleaser who breaks himself to make her feel comfortable, but the grounded man, the one who owns his space, the one who doesn't need attention, the one who doesn't need to be chosen because he already chose himself. That's the energy shift. That's the blueprint. If you're tired of being overlooked, misunderstood, taken for granted, and ghosted, stop looking for external solutions. Start fixing your internal framework. Stop asking how to win her. Start asking how to elevate yourself. Stop trying to be liked. Start being respected. When you live like that, attraction isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by being a man of value, vision, and silence. No drama, no games, just power, quiet, calm, and unshaken. That's what speaks loudest. And the moment you embrace that, everything changes. So when you finally step back and stop trying to get attention, the dynamic flips. She starts wondering why you're not reacting the way most guys do. She starts watching your moves, feeling a shift she can't quite explain. And that's when the attraction begins to grow, not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of man who doesn't need to. Understand this. The world is filled with men who beg for validation, who seek love from a place of lack. But when you operate from abundance, when your days are full, your mission is clear, and your value doesn't hinge on her response. You're rare, and rarity breeds desire. Let her feel that you don't need her, but you've chosen to let her in. Let her feel that your presence isn't bought, it's earned. Let her feel that your silence isn't emptiness, it's composure. When she tests you, you don't flinch. When she pulls back, you don't chase. When she leans in, you don't collapse. You stay grounded. And it's in that grounded energy where true masculine power lives. Stop telling her what makes you different. Show her by not reacting like the rest. Show her by being the guy who doesn't fill the silence with over-explaining. Show her by being the man who holds his position. You don't rush. You don't prove. You simply let your energy speak. A man on his path doesn't overpost. He doesn't seek applause. He documents his journey for himself first, not for likes or approval. And that authenticity, that silence in a world of noise, That's what magnetizes people to him, especially women. So start living in a way that communicates value without words. Your posture should say you have nothing to prove. Your eye contact should show you're not intimidated by beauty. Your words should be slow, intentional, measured. And your time should be protected like treasure. Too many guys give time freely to women who haven't earned it. That's not kindness, that's lack of standards. Set your standards high, not because you want to manipulate, but because you respect yourself. Watch how everything shifts when you do. Watch how her energy mirrors yours. Watch how she starts adjusting to your tempo instead of setting it. In every interaction, ask yourself, am I moving with intention or am I just reacting? Am I leading this interaction or am I trying to get chosen? Because a man who leads doesn't chase. He creates momentum. He creates direction. He creates presence. And the woman who aligns with that presence will naturally want to follow. So next time you feel the urge to double text, pause. When she flakes, don't argue, move on. When she's cold, don't ask why. Redirect your energy. Be a man who protects his peace like it's sacred, because it is. And when you live like that, women don't just notice, they remember. Long after the conversation ends, long after the date is over, they remember how calm you were, how rare it felt to be with someone so secure, someone so focused, someone who didn't try to impress, but still left an impression. That's the energy that keeps her thinking about you. That's what makes you stand out without trying to. You don't have to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to be the richest or the most attractive. You just need to be the man who moves with clarity, with direction, with purpose. Every text, every look, every step, it should all reflect who you are and what you stand for. That's not game, that's presence. And presence is what makes people lean in. They want to know more. They want to get closer, not because you tried to sell yourself, but because your energy sold itself. So let's make this practical. Set your boundaries, stick to them. If she tries to test you, don't get defensive. If she tries to provoke you, don't react. Smile, nod, shift the topic, stay composed. And when she tries to pull away just to get a rise out of you, give her space. Let her miss the calm she felt around you. Let her sit with the contrast between your energy and the chaos she's used to. Because that contrast is what creates desire. When everyone else is chasing, you stand still. When everyone else is loud, you stay quiet. When everyone else is desperate to prove they're different, you already know you are. And that confidence, that unshakable self-belief, it changes the game. You become unforgettable. Not because of tricks or tactics, but because you're rooted in something deeper, something real, and real always wins. So stop playing small, stop bending to be liked, stop adjusting your truth for temporary attention. Be still, be firm, be focused. Let your life be the proof. Let your mission speak for itself. Let your silence carry weight. Because when you move like that, you don't need to ask how to be more attractive. You already are. Women feel it. And the ones who are aligned with your energy, they'll chase you, not because you manipulated anything, but because you became the gravity in the room. That's not game. That's power. Now use it.